surveys may fail to reflect the true distribution of opinion within a target population. One frequent source of measurement error is the wording of survey questions. The precise word used in a question can have an enormous impact on the answers that question elicits. The reliability of survey results can also be adversely affected by poor question format, faulty ordering of questions, poor vocabulary, ambiguity of questions, or questions with built-in biases. Often, seemingly minor differences in the wording of a question can convey vastly different meaning to correspondents and thus produce quite different response patterns. For example, for many years, the University of Chicago's National Opinion Research Center has asked respondents whether they think the federal government is spending too much, too little, or about the right amount of money on assistance for the poor. Answering the questions posed this way, about two-thirds of all respondents seems to believe that the government is spending too little. However, the same survey also asked whether the government spent too much, too little, or about the right amount for welfare. When the word welfare is substituted for assistance for the poor, about half of all respondents indicate that too much is being spent. Today, pollsters are increasingly turning to the use of online surveys, often using similar techniques to those of telephone survey. But while internet surveys can be more efficient, less costly, and have larger samples, many online surveys do not use probability samples, which means random sampling, and those are not representative of the American population. Why are some polls wrong? The history of polling over the past century contains many instances of getting it wrong and learning valuable lessons in the process. As a result, polling techniques have grown more and more sophisticated, and pollsters have a more and more nuanced understanding of how public opinion is formed and how it is revealed. Social desirability effects. Political scientists have found that survey results can be inaccurate when the survey includes questions about sensitive issues for which individuals do not wish to share their true preferences. For example, respondents tend to over-report voting in elections and the frequency of their church attendance. Why? These activities are deemed socially inappropriate. So, even if the respondents do not vote or attend church regularly, they may feel social pressure to do so, and thus they may respond inaccurately on a survey. Political scientist Adam Berinsky calls this the social desirability effect, whereby respondents report what they expect the interviewer wishes to hear or whatever they think is socially acceptable rather than what they actually believe or know to be true. On other topics, respondents may feel self-conscious and so choose not to answer. This happens with questions about people's income. Questions that ask directly about race or gender are particularly problematic. Social desirability makes it difficult to learn voters' true opinion about touchy subjects such as racial attitudes because respondents hide their preferences from the interviewer for fear of social retribution against what might be deemed politically incorrect. However, surveys can be designed to tap respondents' latent or hidden feelings about sensitive issues without directly asking them to express overt opinions. For example, one such survey examined support for a generic black presidential candidate. The study was conducted in the mid-2007, well before Barack Obama became president. The survey was designed to tap underlying attitudes towards a black candidate, allowing researchers to compare openly expressed support for such a candidate with unvoiced hitting attitudes toward the same candidate. Results show that 30% of Americans exhibit reluctance about voting for a generic black presidential candidate, even though, when asked directly, nearly 85% had claimed they would support such a candidate. Selection bias. All right, I'm going to stop right here. Selection bias. Page 164.